The marketplace was alive with sound. Alien voices called out, selling strange fruits, glowing crystals, and tiny machines that buzzed like angry insects. Lights flashed from every corner, signs floated in the air, and the smell of smoke and spices filled the streets. But beneath all the noise and color, one spot remained strangely silent. There, under a glowing sign that read, "Take as you wish," sat a woman. She was not like the other aliens around. Her skin shone faintly, almost silver, and her eyes glowed with a soft light as if 2 stars had been trapped inside them. Chains held her wrists and ankles, keeping her in place like a prisoner. Her hair, long and dark, fell over her face, hiding her expression. Crowds walked past her without stopping. Some glanced at her and then quickly turned away. Others laughed or whispered. Children pointed, but their parents pulled them away. No one spoke to her. No one touched her. It was as if she were not even alive. And yet the sign above her head kept glowing, "Take as you wish." Most ignored it. Some sneered, but none dared to act. That was when a human traveler entered the marketplace. His name was not known to the crowd. To them, he was just another off-worlder, one more wanderer passing through. He had no weapons on his back, no armor on his chest, and no guards by his side. Only a dusty cloak covered his shoulders and a small pack hung at his waist. He walked slowly, studying the stalls and the alien sellers. His eyes, however, soon fell on the chained woman beneath the sign. He stopped. Something about the sight froze him in place. Why was she here? Why was she chained like an object? And why did no one care? The human stepped closer. The crowd noticed. Whispers spread through the air. "Is he mad?" one alien hissed. "He doesn't know the danger," another muttered. "Humans are foolish," a third laughed bitterly. But the man did not listen. His eyes stayed fixed on the woman, her head slowly lifted. For the first time, her glowing eyes met his. And then something strange happened. The human felt as if the world around him grew quiet. The noise of the market faded. The smell of smoke vanished. Even the hot air seemed to cool. Only her eyes remained. They were full of pain, full of loneliness. But behind that pain, he saw something else. Hope. She had been waiting. Not for anyone. For him, the man's heart pounded. He could not explain why, but he knew this moment was not an accident. He stepped even closer, his boots striking the dusty ground. The chains rattled as she moved slightly, as if to show him her bonds. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. He reached out his hand. The crowd gasped. "No," someone cried. "Don't touch her," shouted another. "He will die," a voice whispered with fear. But the human ignored them all. His fingers brushed against the cold iron of her shackles. He pulled gently. The chain did not break. He tried harder. The woman's eyes widened. She whispered something faint, so faint that only he could hear. It was his name. The human froze. He had never met her before. How could she know his name? The crowd was silent now. Every alien, every traitor, every guard stared in shock. No one had ever dared to touch the chains before. No one had ever stepped so close. The man gritted his teeth and pulled harder. The chain groaned, the sound echoing like thunder in the air. With one final effort, the lock snapped. The first shackle fell. The woman gasped, her silver skin glowing brighter for a moment. The crowd staggered back, some shouting in fear, others running. The human moved to the next shackle. His heart raced, but he did not stop. His hands burned as if the iron carried fire, but still he pulled. Another chain broke free. The marketplace shook. The ground trembled. A stall of fruit collapsed, sending glowing orbs rolling across the street. But the man did not stop. One by one, the chains fell. When the last shackle snapped, the woman collapsed forward, free for the first time in years. The human caught her in his arms. The crowd stared, wide-eyed and terrified. Some whispered, "It has begun." Others bowed their heads, afraid to watch. The woman lifted her face to him, her glowing eyes wet with tears. She whispered again, louder this time, "You came." The man could not answer. His breath was heavy, his hands shaking. But in that moment, he knew one thing. He had broken more than chains. He had broken a law no one dared touch. And now, the whole marketplace watched, waiting to see what would happen next. The marketplace had turned into stone silence. For years, people had walked past the chained woman without daring to touch her. For years, the sign, "Take as you wish," had glowed like a cruel joke. Now in one heartbeat, a human had broken the rule. The air grew heavy. Eyes watched from every corner. Traders froze behind their stalls. The guards, tall creatures with silver armor, did not move. They only stared, as if waiting for something terrible to happen. The human stood there, holding the weakened woman in his arms. Her chains lay broken on the dusty ground. His chest rose and fell quickly, his breath sharp, his hands raw from the iron. The crowd whispered, "No one survives after touching her. Why is he still standing? This is impossible." But the human did not care about their whispers. He only looked down at the woman. Her glowing eyes stared back, filled with tears. She whispered his name again, soft, almost unbelieving. "How do you know me?" he asked, his voice low. Before she could answer, the ground shuddered. A strange hum rose in the air, deep and sharp, like the sound of a great machine awakening. The crowd panicked. Some fled the marketplace, pushing and shouting. Others dropped to their knees, covering their faces as if afraid to look. The woman gripped his arm weakly. Her voice trembled. "You should not have done this." "Now they will come," the human frowned. "Who will come?" She only shook her head, her silver hair falling across her face. "The lords, they will not let me go." Not again, he looked around. The guards had not moved, but their eyes glowed brighter, their hands resting on strange weapons. Yet none of them attacked. It was as if they were waiting for permission. The human straightened, his hand tightening around hers. "Then let them come," he said firmly. But before the lords appeared, the woman's chains reacted. The broken pieces on the ground began to smoke, releasing a black mist that spread like oil across the dust. The mist crawled upward, forming shapes, faces, eyes, twisted mouths that whispered in alien tongues. The crowd cried out in horror. The human felt the mist trying to touch him, trying to claw at his skin. Yet when it brushed against him, it dissolved, unable to hold form. The woman stared at him wide-eyed. "It cannot bind you," she whispered. "You are not like them." Her words only deepened the mystery. The black mist gathered into one final shape, a towering shadow with burning red eyes. It pointed a long finger at the human and spoke with a voice that made the air vibrate. "Only fools break the chains. Only the doomed free the cursed." The human stepped forward, placing himself between the shadow and the woman. "She is not cursed," he said loudly. "She is alive. She deserves freedom." The shadow hissed, the sound sharp and cruel. "You cannot save her." "She belongs to us." The human clenched his fists. "Not anymore." With that, the shadow lunged. The crowd screamed. The human did not run. He braced himself, ready to fight with nothing but his bare hands. The shadow's claws struck like lightning. Yet the moment they touched him, the shadow shattered into smoke and vanished into the air. Silence followed. The mist was gone. The chains lay broken. The woman was free. The crowd gasped in disbelief. No one had ever seen such a thing. No one had ever defied the curse and lived. The guards finally moved. But instead of attacking, they lowered their weapons. Some even stepped back, fear in their eyes. The woman's voice trembled as she spoke. You are different. That is why I knew your name. That is why the chains could not harm you." The human looked down at her, confused. "What are you saying?" Before she could answer, a sudden silence spread again. This time it was deeper, heavier, like the air itself was holding its breath. From the far end of the marketplace, a group approached. Tall figures wrapped in flowing dark robes, their faces hidden behind masks of gold. The crowd bent their heads in fear. No one dared to look at them directly. The woman's body stiffened. Her hand tightened around the human's arm. "The lords," she whispered. "They have come." The human's jaw tightened. His instinct screamed at him to run, but something inside him refused. He had freed her once. He would not give her back. The lords stopped a few paces away. Their leader, taller than the rest, raised a hand. His voice echoed across the square, calm but sharp as a blade. "Human," the lord said, "you have broken what was never meant to be broken. Do you understand what you have done?" The human's voice was steady, though his heart pounded. "Yes, I freed her." The lord's mask tilted slightly as if amused. "Then you have chosen death." The human stepped forward, his hand still holding the woman's. "If that is the price for freedom, then so be it," the crowd gasped. No alien had ever spoken back to the lords. No alien had ever dared to defy them. The woman looked up at him, her glowing eyes wide, her lips trembling with something between fear and hope. For the first time in years, someone had stood for her. and the lords did not like it. The marketplace was no longer alive with sound. It was drowned in fear. The human stood tall, his hand holding the freed woman's arm. Around him, the crowd kept their distance, whispering in panic, bowing their heads as if afraid to breathe too loudly. The broken chain still smoked on the ground, the black mist gone but not forgotten. Before him, the masked lords stood in a line of shadow. Their golden masks reflected the glowing lights of the market, their dark robes moving like water though no wind blew. They radiated power, ancient and cold. The leader tilted his mask and spoke again, his voice sharp and slow. You break what cannot be broken. You free what cannot be free. Do you know who she is, human? The human's jaw tightened. He shook his head. I don't care who she is. I only know she was chained. And no one deserves chains, the crowd gasped. No one had ever spoken so directly to the lords. The woman's eyes glowed brighter at his words, but fear still trembled in them. She turned to him, her voice urgent, low, almost pleading. You don't understand my chains. They were not only iron, they were law. They were curse. To touch them was to invite death. The human frowned. Then why am I still alive? The woman looked at him as though he was a riddle she could not solve. Because you are not like them. Their laws do not bind you. The leader of the lords took a step forward. The ground seemed to darken under his feet. She speaks truth. Human, you are outside our design, but that makes you dangerous. She was chained for a reason. The human's voice hardened. Tell me that reason. The lord's mask gleamed as he raised a long hand pointing toward the woman. She carries blood of the throne. Once her family ruled with fire. Her kind started wars, burned cities, drowned planets. We ended it. We chained her so no one would dare to claim her name again. The woman lowered her head. Her voice was broken, heavy with shame. They are not lying. My bloodline is cursed. I am the last of my house. They feared I would rise. So they bound me. And they wrote a law. Whoever freed me would share my curse. The crowd shivered, whispering louder. To them, the human's fate was already sealed. But the man only tightened his grip on her hand. His voice was calm but fierce. I don't care about curses. I don't care about thrones. I care that she was chained like an object while you all watched. That ends now. The woman's glowing eyes widened, tears forming again. No one had ever spoken for her. Not once. The Lord's voice grew sharper, cutting through the air. Your bravery is ignorance. Her curse is not story. It is truth. Every soul who touched her chains withered. Every hand that tried to break them turned to ash, and yet, you still stand. Why? The human did not answer. He didn't know himself, but the woman looked at him with sudden realization. Her lips parted, trembling. Because you are human. You are not part of their web. You were not made by their laws. That is why I knew your name before you spoke it. That is why the chains broke. The crowd gasped. Some shouted in disbelief. Others bowed lower, afraid. The Lord raised his hand again. This time, power flickered in the air, a storm of energy crackling between his fingers. Enough, human, step away. Leave her, and we will let you walk away alive. The human shook his head. His voice was steady, unshaken. I did not free her to give her back. The storm in the Lord's hand grew brighter, sharp enough to burn the ground. The other lords stepped forward, their masks glowing like suns. The woman grabbed the human's arm, her voice trembling. You don't understand. Their chains held more than my body. They sealed something inside me. Something terrible. If they strike now, it will break free. I cannot control it. The human turned to her. His voice was quiet but firm. Then we face it together. The lords unleashed their power. A wave of energy swept across the square. Stalls shattered, lights burst, and the crowd screamed, fleeing in all directions. The human shielded the woman with his body, but the force struck them both like a storm. For a moment, it seemed the world itself would break, and then it happened. The broken chains on the ground began to glow, not black this time, but silver. The light spread into the woman's skin, and her body shook with power. Her glowing eyes burned brighter, brighter than the market lights, brighter than the stars above, she screamed, her voice echoing across the square, half pain, half release. The Lord staggered back in shock. The leader hissed, Fool! You have released it. The human held her tightly even as her power surged like fire. His arms burned, but he did not let go. What is it? He shouted. The woman's voice cracked through the storm. The curse. The fire of my blood. It destroys everything it touches. Her skin flared with silver light, arcs of energy blasting outward. The ground split. Statues crumbled. And yet, though the power struck everything around, the human was untouched. The woman looked at him, wide-eyed, trembling. You are the only one it cannot hurt. The Lord stared in fury and fear. For the first time in centuries, their law had failed. Their chains had broken, and the galaxy had just changed forever. The marketplace was ruined. Broken stalls lay scattered, smoke rose from shattered stones, and the crowd had fled in terror. Only the human, the freed woman, and the masked lords remained among the wreckage. The woman's glowing power flickered wildly around her, silver sparks shooting into the air like lightning. Her breath came hard, her body trembling as if she was holding back a storm that wanted to tear the world apart. The lords watched, their golden masks shining in the smoke. Their leader's voice was filled with rage. She is awake. She must not escape again. Hunters, release them. The air cracked. From the shadows at the edge of the marketplace, figures stepped forward. They were not men, not even alive. They were machines, tall, sharp, built from black iron. Their eyes glowed red and their bodies moved with the silence of predators. Each one carried weapons shaped like claws and spears. The human's chest tightened. He had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his will. The woman clutched his arm, her voice faint. We must run. They will not stop until they drag me back. The human nodded. Without hesitation, he pulled her close and dashed into the alleys. Behind them, the hunters followed. Their metal feet struck the ground in perfect rhythm, echoing like drums of war. The city was a maze of narrow streets and towering walls. Glowing signs flickered above doors. Strange smoke spilled from vents, and every corner seemed ready to trap them. The human ran fast, but the woman stumbled, her strength fading with each step. I cannot keep up, she gasped. He tightened his grip, refusing to slow down. You're free now. Don't stop. Not here. The hunter's red eyes cut through the shadows behind them. One leapt, claws reaching for the human's back. He spun at the last second, pulling the woman aside, and the machine crashed into a wall, shattering stone. But it rose again, unbroken, relentless. The chase grew fiercer. The human turned corner after corner, trying to lose them, but the hunters knew the city better than he did. They climbed walls like spiders, leapt rooftops, and cut off paths with terrifying speed. One landed in front of them, blocking the alley. Its glowing spear rose, aimed for the human's chest. The woman screamed. No! The human did not think. He charged forward, grabbing a broken piece of metal pipe from the ground. The hunter thrust its spear, but the human ducked, rolling forward, and drove the pipe deep into the machine's chest. Sparks exploded. The hunter staggered, then fell. The woman's eyes widened. How did you? The human pulled her forward. No time. More are coming. They ran again. Above them, the sky darkened. Strange flying shapes hovered into view. Smaller hunters with wings of steel, their red eyes glowing like fire. They screeched and dived. The woman raised her trembling hands, silver sparks flying. For a moment, her power struck the air, and one of the flying machines burst apart in flames. But the effort weakened her even more. She nearly collapsed. The human caught her, holding her upright. Save your strength. I'll handle them. But deep inside, he knew he could not fight them all. The alleys opened into a wide plaza. Broken statues lay scattered, fountains long dry. In the center stood a tall archway covered in alien runes. The woman's eyes widened when she saw it. There, she whispered. That is an old escape path. It leads out of the city, but it will only open for blood of the throne. The hunters closed in behind them, red eyes glowing in the smoke. The human pulled her toward the arch.
Then use it. She shook her head weakly.
I cannot. The chains poisoned me. I need time. Time we do not have. The hunters moved closer, their claws scraping the ground. The human looked at her, then at the arch, then back at the hunters. His heart pounded, but he stood tall. Then I'll give you that time. He grabbed the broken pipe again, stepping in front of her. The hunters circled, their red eyes fixed on him. The woman's voice broke. You will die! The human shook his head, his eyes hard. Maybe, but you won't go back in chains. The hunters charged. The human fought like a man possessed. He ducked under claws, struck with all his strength, and used the hunter's own weight against them. Sparks filled the plaza as machine after machine fell. But for everyone destroyed, two more stepped forward. The woman pressed her glowing hands to the arch. Her blood lit the runes one by one as the stone began to shift, but her body trembled, her strength failing. The human was thrown to the ground, blood on his face, the broken pipe ripped from his hand. A hunter raised its claws for the final strike, and then the arch roared with light. A silver gateway opened, wide and bright like the heart of a star. The woman shouted, her voice filled with desperate strength. Now! The human leapt to his feet, grabbed her hand, and together they dove into the light. The hunters lunged after them, but the gate closed with a thunderous crack. Silence fell over the plaza. Only broken machines remained. The lords watched from the shadows, their masks glowing faintly. The leader's voice was calm but heavy with anger. He has freed her. He has carried her beyond our walls. This is no longer a curse. It is war. The silver gateway spat them out into darkness. The human stumbled, still holding the woman close. They landed on cold stone, the sound of dripping water echoing through the air. Behind them, the glowing arch shrank until it was nothing more than a dull shadow on the wall. The hunters were gone. For now. The woman's breath came shallow, her body weak. Her glowing skin flickered as though her light was fading. The human lowered her carefully against the wall, brushing the dirt from her face. "You're safe," he whispered. Her eyes half closed, but she managed to shake her head. "No, not safe. Never safe. They will not stop." They never stop. The human looked around. They were in old tunnels, carved long ago and forgotten by the city above. Moss glowed faintly along the walls. Strange insects crawled in the cracks. It smelled of damp stone and rust. A sound echoed through the tunnel, soft footsteps. The human rose quickly, ready to fight. But instead of hunters, a figure appeared from the shadows. It was an alien man, tall and thin, with gray skin and tired eyes. His clothes were worn, patched with different fabrics. He held no weapon, only a lantern that glowed with pale fire. "You made it," the man said in a low voice. "I saw the light of the arch. I thought no one would ever open it again." The human narrowed his eyes. "Who are you?" The man bowed his head slightly. "A friend. My name is Varen. I have watched the lords for years. I knew one day she would escape. I built this place for that moment." The woman stirred weakly, her voice trembling. "Varen, you still live?" Varine nodded. "I hid from them, my lady, I waited. And now at last you are free." The human studied him with suspicion, but the woman's eyes softened. She seemed to know him. Varen stepped forward and knelt beside her. From his bag he pulled out a flask filled with glowing liquid. "Drink this. It will ease the poison from the chains." The human hesitated, but the woman nodded faintly and sipped from the flask. Almost at once her breath steadied and some of the glow returned to her skin. The human allowed himself a moment of relief. "Thank you," Varen gave a small smile. "There is a safe house nearby. You cannot stay in the tunnels. The lords will send their hunters here soon. Follow me." They moved slowly through the tunnels. The human carried the woman when she grew too weak to walk. Varine led the way, his lantern casting long shadows on the walls. Finally, they reached a hidden chamber carved into the rock. Inside were old blankets, food supplies, and weapons stored in crates. "This is my refuge," Varen said softly. "Here you can rest." The woman lay down on a blanket, her eyes closing. For the first time since her chains broke, she seemed at peace. The human stood guard near the entrance, his eyes never leaving Varen. Something about the man felt off. His smile was kind, but his eyes were restless, always shifting, always measuring. Hours passed. The human did not sleep. He listened to the woman's soft breathing, to the distant drip of water, and to Varen's quiet movements. Then he heard it, a faint metallic click. He turned sharply. Varen was near the corner of the chamber, holding a small device in his hand. A red light blinked on its surface. "What are you doing?" the human demanded. Varen froze, then sighed. He slipped the device into his cloak. "You are sharp." "Too sharp," the woman stirred, opening her eyes weakly. "Varen?" His voice hardened. "Forgive me, my lady, but I cannot waste this chance. The lords have offered freedom to anyone who delivers you back. I have lived in hiding too long. I want my life again." The human stepped forward, fury in his eyes. "You would betray her after everything she suffered?" Varen's face twisted with bitterness. "You do not understand, human. She is cursed. Wherever she goes, death follows. You think you saved her? You only doomed us all." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "You were my friend." Varen looked away. Once. But I value my life more than ghosts of loyalty. Before the human could move, Varen pressed the device. A sharp pulse of energy spread through the chamber. Far away, a deep sound answered. The hunters had been signaled. The human lunged at him, slamming him against the wall. The lantern crashed to the ground, rolling across the floor. Shadows leapt across the stone. Varen grinned bitterly through the pain. It's too late. They are coming, the woman cried out, trying to rise. The human looked at her, then back at Varen. His fists shook with rage. You brought them here, he said coldly, and you will regret it. From the tunnels outside, the sound of claws on stone echoed closer and closer. The hunters were on their way. The safe house was no longer safe. The hunters were coming. Their claws scraped the stone. Their red eyes glowed in the darkness, and their inhuman voices echoed like broken metal. The human stood in the center of the chamber. His fists clenched, his eyes burning with fury. Beside him, the woman struggled to rise, her glowing skin flickering weakly. And against the wall, pinned by the human's grip, Varen gave a bitter laugh. They will be here soon, Varen hissed. You cannot stop them. No one can. The human pressed him harder into the stone. Then you'll die with us. But the woman's trembling voice cut through. No, enough. Her glowing eyes met the human's, full of pain but also strange calm. He betrayed us. But if you kill him now, you waste strength. Save it. We need it. The human hesitated, then released Varen with a shove. The gray-skinned traitor collapsed, gasping for breath. The hunter's shadows stretched closer. Their red glow spilled into the chamber. The woman pressed her hand to her chest. Her voice was heavy with dread. There is one thing left. A power I never wanted to use. The human turned to her, his brow furrowed. What power? Her voice trembled. The chains did not only bind me, they sealed my blood, my inheritance, a storm inside me. If I let it out, it will destroy everything around me. The human's voice was firm. Then we control it together. Her eyes widened, tears forming. You don't understand. My family used this power to burn worlds. The lords chained me because they feared I would follow the same path. The hunters entered the chamber. Their claws gleamed in the lantern's broken light. One raised a spear, aiming at the human's chest. The human stepped forward, blocking the woman with his body. His voice was strong, unshaken. Then prove them wrong. Use it not for destruction, but for freedom. The woman's breath caught. No one had ever spoken such words to her. For all her years in chains, everyone had only feared her, hated her, or turned away. But this human, he believed. The hunter struck. The human grabbed a fallen weapon from the crates and swung with all his strength. Sparks flew as metal clashed against metal. He fought like a man possessed, every strike fueled by pure will. But the hunters were endless. One claw cut across his arm. Another threw him back against the wall. The woman cried out, reaching for him. Her hands glowed brighter, the power inside her begging to be released. Don't, Varen shouted, crawling to his feet. If you use it, you'll kill him too. But when the energy touched the human, it did nothing. Not a burn, not a scar. He staggered back to his feet, still alive, still fighting. The woman stared, her heart pounding. He is immune, she whispered. The fire cannot harm him. The hunters lunged again, surrounding the human. He raised the weapon high, but his strength was fading. He could not hold forever. The woman rose to her knees. Her glowing eyes blazed with sudden resolve. She placed her hands on the ground and silver light exploded outward. The chamber shook. Stone cracked. The hunters were hurled back by the force, their bodies twisting in the storm of energy. Their red eyes flickered. Their iron frames split apart. The human shielded his eyes, but he felt no pain. The silver fire roared around him, burning everything else to ash. Varen screamed as the light touched him, his skin turning black with smoke. In moments he was gone. Only dust remained. The hunters shattered, their bodies collapsing into lifeless metal. And then silence. The woman collapsed, her body shaking. Her glow dimmed, but she still breathed. The human rushed to her side, lifting her gently. You're alive, he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly. I released it. But you're still here, he nodded, his grip firm. Your power cannot touch me. That means it was never meant to destroy everything. It only destroys chains. Her eyes filled with tears. No, it destroys much more. You saw it. I killed him. I killed Varen. The human's voice was steady. He chose betrayal. You chose survival. There's a difference. She buried her face against his chest, trembling. I don't want to be a weapon. I don't want to be what they fear. He held her close, his voice firm but gentle. Then you won't. We'll use this power to break chains, not create them. For the first time, hope stirred inside her, but the hope was short-lived. A sound echoed from the tunnel entrance. Slow, steady footsteps. Not hunters. Something heavier, stronger. The Lords. The leader stepped into the chamber, his golden mask gleaming in the silver light. The other Lords followed, their presence filling the room with dread. The leader's voice was cold as stone. So, the power is unsealed. At last, the woman stiffened, fear flashing in her eyes. The human pulled her closer, standing between her and the Lords. The leader raised a hand pointing at the human. You think you saved her? You only awakened war. The human met his gaze without fear. No, I awakened freedom, and I'll protect it, no matter the cost. The Lords' masks glowed brighter, their voices echoing as one. Then you are enemy to us all. The chamber shook again, but this time it was not her power. It was the Lords themselves preparing to strike. The final battle was coming. The chamber shook with every step the Lords took. Dust fell from the ceiling, cracks spread across the stone, and the air grew heavy as if the walls themselves were afraid. The human stood in front of the woman, his body bruised and bloodied but his spirit unbroken. The freed woman leaned against him, her silver glow flickering like a dying flame. Behind them, broken hunters lay scattered, silent at last. The leader of the Lords raised his golden mask, his voice sharp and merciless. Human, you are stubborn. You fight for what you do not understand. She is not salvation, she is ruin. Her bloodline is cursed. Her fire will consume worlds. Give her to us, and we will end this cleanly. The human's jaw tightened. He stepped forward, placing himself fully between the woman and the Lords. No, she has been chained long enough. I will never give her back. The Lords' voices joined as one, echoing like thunder. Then you choose death. Power flared from their hands, golden fire, black storms, rivers of pure energy. The chamber became a battlefield of light and shadow. The human braced himself. He knew he could not match their strength, but he would not step aside. The woman gripped his hand weakly, her voice trembling. They are right. If I release all my power, I could destroy them, but I could destroy this world too. I am a danger to everything. The human turned, his voice steady despite the storm around them. No, you are not danger. You are choice. Power is only a weapon if you let it be. Her eyes filled with tears. And if I lose control? His hand tightened on hers. Then I will hold you until the end. Even if the galaxy burns, you will not face it alone. The Lord struck. Golden fire tore across the chamber, smashing stone, shattering walls. The human shielded the woman, his body thrown back by the force, but he did not fall. Her silver glow spread around them, protecting him, feeding from his unshakable will. The woman gasped. It listens to you. My power listens to you. The human met her gaze. Then let's show them what it was meant for. Together they rose. Her silver fire burst outward, flooding the chamber. The Lords raised shields, but the fire struck deeper than walls of energy. It burned not just metal and stone, but the chains of fear and lies they had wrapped around the galaxy. One by one, the golden masks cracked. The Lords staggered, their voices breaking. This it cannot be. The woman's body shook as the power poured out, but she was not alone. The human held her hand tight, grounding her, steadying her. The storm did not consume her this time, it obeyed her. Across the city above, every chain glowed. Slaves in the streets, prisoners in cells, workers bound by collars. All saw their shackles shimmer and then shatter into dust. The galaxy felt it. Worlds far away trembled as bonds long tied by the Lord's law began to break. Freedom spread like fire. The crowd that had once bowed in fear now lifted their heads. They saw the light blazing from the ruins of the marketplace, and they knew. The Lords collapsed, their masks falling into the dust. Their power was gone. Their rule was broken. The chamber fell silent. Only the sound of dripping water remained. The woman sank to her knees, exhausted, her silver fire dimming to a soft glow. The human knelt beside her, his hand still holding hers. You did it, he whispered. You're free. Her glowing eyes turned to him, full of disbelief and wonder. No, we did it. You showed me I was not a weapon. You showed me I was more. The human smiled faintly. And now the galaxy knows it too. For a long moment they sat in silence, the ruins of the Lords around them. Then faintly, voices began to rise from outside the tunnels. Not whispers of fear this time, but cries of joy, cheers, songs of freedom. The woman listened, her heart trembling. They are free too? The human nodded. Every chain they forged is broken. You were never their curse. You were their greatest fear because you were hope. Her tears fell, glowing silver in the dim light. She leaned against him, her voice soft. What happens now? The human looked toward the broken masks, then at the path ahead. His eyes burned with quiet determination. Now we rebuild. A galaxy without chains, and if anyone tries to bind it again, they will face us. The woman smiled weakly, her hand tightening on his. For the first time since her birth, she felt light, not fear. Outside, the galaxy was already changing. Whispers spread faster than any fire. The tale of the chained woman who was freed. The story of the lords brought low, and above all, the legend of the human, ordinary, unarmed, but unbreakable, who dared to untie her when no one else would. And so the galaxy remembered not the lords, not the curse, but the choice of a human who believed freedom was worth everything.